Okay, another part. Here are the rhododendron flowers coming out in beautiful buds. Beautiful buds. Oh, yes. Yes. Gorgeous, huh? Gorgeous. That's so gorgeous. Oh, gorgeous. Gorgeous. Paradise. We must appreciate these things. Those are presents from the infinite cosmos. Okay? We have to love those things. They are amazing. Amazing. I don't want to show the camera to the sun, so I'm gonna sit over there. I'll sit there in the shade. The baby dog did not get the kitty. That is so good. Okay, I'm so glad. So let's see. I want to sit in the sun, but that's not good for the camera, obviously. So let's see here. I don't know how this will work. So, and I had to put my jacket on because it's actually chilly, but it's nice in the sun. The sun is always heating everything up. Very nice. It feels good to get grounded, really good. We need to appreciate everything, every single thing we need to appreciate. This here, the need to appreciate this here, dandelion leaves. Appreciate this. I see there's a slug on the back. I can't eat this. That would have to be washed first. Yeah, I didn't see it. I picked this up, but then it has slug slime on it, and I don't know what that might do. So better not eat that. You have to, when you harvest something, you should always put this in a bowl, and you put like slightly warm water in it, and maybe 2 tablespoons of baking soda with it, and then squish that around, let that soak, and then let the water out. Rinse it one more time with water and let the water out, and then you can make a salad with it, just to make it uncontaminated from anything, any potential worms or eggs or something, or I don't know, depends on where you pick it. If you pick that in someone else's garden, there may be pesticides on it, so you have to wash all of that with baking soda and protect yourself from all of these things. It's nice in the sun, but my skin gets sunburned. So this is a tricky situation. What am I going to do? If I sit in the shadow, it gets cold. If I sit in the sun, I get sunburned. How do I do this? Like this. I don't know. That's not going to work either. Maybe I can move over like this here. Maybe this will be better. So let's see. Make sure to vote for Donald Trump. Okay. That is very, very, very vitally important for the whole world. Very, very important. Because he cares and he wants to prevent war. Okay, so Joe Biden caused this war. They caused it. Okay, deliberately caused it. because the corporate agenda caused it, and they want the war. The corporate agenda wants the war, and Donald Trump and Elon Musk do not want the war, and I do not want the war. Okay, so, and I hope you don't want the war either, okay, because it is horrific what happens during war. Really horrific. I already saw reports on Facebook from private people reporting about this, how horrific it is in the Ukraine. So this should never be accepted, should never be allowed. Okay, very important that we all get on board with peace and love for the world and safety for all living beings. Okay, it's very, very important. So I want to get back to Nietzsche just for a moment. Nietzsche was a very critical thinker, and he wanted people to question everything, question religion, and question themselves, and shred things that they learned and recycle it into harmless data, like sort it out and say this data here is not truthful and this one is. So find out for yourself, what works. There's a spider coming up here. This is amazing. This is amazing. Is this how the spider was gondoling all the way over, all the way over here to my computer. It's strange. So I have to make it comfortable. God, look at the rhododendron. Look how amazing that looks. This is true paradise, This is a present from the infinite cosmos. And we need to appreciate these things. We need to appreciate everything that is beautiful and gorgeous and healing and helpful for us. I was almost going to go back in the house with the computer, but then with the jacket and the boots now, I got my big Baffin boots. It works now, so this is warm. This is nice, and getting grounded, This is such a treasure from the earth, to get grounded. How can you get grounded in a space station? You can't get grounded there. That's not good. You have to get grounded on, at least on a meteorite. I mean, if you land on a very large meteorite, or some kind of comet or something, and you want to do some silver mining there or whatever, I wouldn't use explosives, because that thing might crack apart and then you end up floating out into space. But even a comet or meteorite, depending on the size, of course, the bigger they are, the more grounding power it has. But yeah, even like if they are 1 kilometer in diameter, so maybe I don't know how much that is, a mile and a half or something. You still get grounding force that goes through your system, and you have to have that. You need that. You can ground on Mars, you can ground on the moon, on the meteorites, on the comets. So, but you would be sitting in dust usually, and you don't know. I don't know how good that dust is for you, and you can't even take the spacesuit off in most of these places. I mean, in all of those places until they become terraformed, and that means people will grow something, will grow mosses and then larger plants, and the plants will create an atmosphere. I don't know if that's possible on a comet, but it is definitely possible on Mars for sure. I don't know if it's possible on the moon, because the moon, I heard the moon does not change from daylight to night. So one side of the moon is blasted with the sun. You can't be in there. It's way too hot. And the other side is dark and way, way, way going into the minus, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of degrees Fahrenheit in the minus. So you can't be there either. So you can only be in some kind of space station. I don't know if that can get itself grounded. Maybe with some grounding wires they can do it. So it's very, very important to get the body grounded. There are scientists talking about this, the importance. Paul got his feet grounded, but not for very long. He was sitting out there with his bare feet. His feet they have muscular dystrophy and they're purple, and I'm very, very worried about his legs and feet. He has these birdie looking type of feet, and purple skin, almost like a reptilian alien or something. And I'm really worried about this because that's caused by the diabetes. He doesn't have enough circulation going through his feet, and that's why it would be so vitally important if he gets grounded every day for at least an hour. But he doesn't listen to me. He doesn't listen to my advice. So there's nothing I can do then. If he doesn't listen to my advice, then I can keep reminding him. If I struggle with him, if I get frustrated, then he doesn't listen at all. So I can only approach this in a relaxed way, and I can say, get grounded. If he doesn't do it, then he doesn't do it. There's nothing I can do about it. But at least I can get grounded. The baby dog is getting grounded every day, the kitties. So it's very important to get grounded. It's important for our health, for our immune system. Okay, very, very important information. So Friedrich Nietzsche suggests that we question everything that we hear. And that's very important to do. So I want to get into criminal psychology, and I kept thinking about this yesterday and today as well. And I kind of took mental notes of what I wanted to say. And again, starting with myself, I'm not a criminal. I would never do something criminal, anything criminal. I'm against criminal acts. I'm against violence and so on. But I have jealousy inside of me. I have these foundation blocks that lead to violence in other people. Okay, not everyone who's jealous. My mother suffered horrifically from jealousy. She didn't do violent acts because of it. She was not a violent person. So she was kind of just suffering in agony on her own, and she was also not willing to face that. So that caused a tremendous suffering, but she wasn't acting it out on other people. At least not to the degree where it becomes a criminal offense, okay? As in so many people around the world who have this jealousy, and they feel ugly, they feel unempowered, they feel unlovable, they feel unloved. They compare themselves to others, and then it starts cooking, and they never talk about it. They suppress it. Their religion tells them to suppress it, and then it cooks up to the point where they can't hold it any longer, and then it comes out like a spring, like I said, like that Jack-in-the-Box spring doll, you know, where something lifts the lid of the box and that whole thing comes popping out like a geyser, you know. And that is what happens with human psychology, where people, they suppress and suppress and suppress, and at some point something triggers it. Some beautiful girl in the neighborhood, whatever, you know, and they're afraid that that beautiful, you know, this is the never-ending story of Cinderella and Snow White, you know. These fairy tales, they didn't come up from nothing. They weren't just thought up as some kind of total fictitious thing. No, they came into people's minds because that was something that was very common and happening all the time. Not just with princesses, real princesses, that as well, okay? But or you know, queens that were surpassed by the beauty of some beautiful girl 7 mountains away or something. But also, particularly in the rural areas, among the peasants, you know, where a beautiful baby girl is born, growing up, and her own mother becomes jealous of her and is that ice queen, full of jealousy and so on. And that's what happened with my mother, and she suppressed it because she comes from that Lutheran mind state. It's still in their heads. They haven't questioned it away. They haven't recycled it. They have just compounded it over with something else, with the idea of being atheist, agnostic, you know. So that's just another idea that they haven't even started to question the other belief, you know, that predated that they put on top of that. So because of that, they're not even real atheist agnostics in the true sense that people would describe it to be, you know, someone who completely questions all of these things that they hear. Religious stuff or metaphysical stuff, they question it completely. So that's the right approach, but you know, atheist agnostic, the agnostic part keeps this open-ended, and that's the reasonable approach, because nobody knows all the answers, obviously. But we approach something in a scientific way, at least in a scientific way that is, as Richard Dawkins himself said, like about 4% agnostic. You know, they can't, if they are really good scientists, if they're really honest with themselves, they can't say, I'm going to close it there and it goes back to the Big Bang, and before that it's completely closed up, and nothing happened before that. So no, that's not reasonable. That's not truthful. Obviously there were other things happening before that led up to that. Everything has a cause, and every cause has an effect. Okay, that's called karma. That's evolution. Okay, and that is infinite. Okay, people need to come to understand this truth of infinity. It's very, very important. Then they are in tune with the infinite. Then they're in tune with truth and with love and with harmony and respect to themselves and others. So the ones that have a little bit open and 4% or whatever, maybe 1% agnostic, then I can say, yeah, okay, you're onto something. You leave that 1% open to I don't know, and maybe we'll find out more. Okay, so, but we have to approach something in a rigorously scientific way. That means we have to test things, we have to investigate, we have to check things out. We can't just take someone's word for something. Okay, that's really what Friedrich Nietzsche was after. That we investigate things for ourselves and find out, and not just accept something because the parents or someone or society or religion indoctrinated us into it from childhood on. And the reason why people are not questioning it, because they don't want to question it. They don't want to find out that they were wrong, because they invested so much energy into it, and they don't want to question their family or their group and so on. Because questioning the family or the group, that would mean that they are suddenly mentally outside of that group, and they are afraid of that. Jiddu Krishnamurti and Dr. David Bohm talked about this for over 50 years. That people are terrified. This is the human nature. We are a herd animal. Okay, we are dependent on others, and we carry that dependency on others, which is a physical dependency on protecting each other, on finding food together, on sharing information with each other. Baby dog, don't do it. Baby dog, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Baby dog. He tapped on the computer. Luckily, I had the arrow away from the red button, or he would have pressed the red button. So, yes, that is the baby dog blocking my face. Yesterday, it was very awful. He came up to me and he pressed against my breast so hard that I cried. Oh my goodness, that hurt so much. He has so much power. This dog has so much power. It's unreal. I've never had a dog with that much power and energy and force. Such enormous muscle mass and force. It's amazing. They are absolutely amazing. I mean, they are true bodyguards. That is what they are. And they're also psychologically very, very sensitive and vulnerable. They need to be loved, And if they press against your breasts, they don't mean to. It's not deliberate. They didn't mean to hurt me. They don't mean to hurt you. They don't mean to hurt anyone. Within the family, they are very, very protective. But they're so powerful, they don't even know about their own body power. So he will lean against me and he'll literally knock me off the bed. He's done that twice, and last night he leaned onto my breast so hard, onto my right breast. It hurt so incredibly bad. I couldn't believe it, but he doesn't know, he's not aware that leaning against me hurts me like this. I'm very sensitive to pain, so I have a very low pain threshold. So any kind of pain is very, very, it's excruciating for me. So that's why I take kelp seaweed now, so I don't have to go to the dentist anymore. Okay, and I never had to go to the dentist. I'm healing all of my enamel now, naturally. It's healing. It's growing back by itself because of the kelp seaweed. Now that's huge, because going to the dentist, that's really the worst torture chamber there is, from all the medical procedures and stuff like that. So we want to stay away from the dentists. And the reason why the dentists don't tell you about kelp seaweed is because they want you to keep coming back. That's why. For that simple reason. If they had decency, they would tell all of their clients kelp seaweed grows your enamel back and you can heal yourself, and you have to take that rigorously every single day. Take a teaspoon of kelp seaweed that keeps the dentist away. So they should say that, and then they might go out of business if everyone does it and heals themselves, but they did the right thing. They told people what to do. A dentist or a doctor should be there to help you, not to make you dependent on them. Okay, and again, this is the corruption. This is some kind of serious selfishness that is in the human species that is causing so many problems. So, and that also that evolved through evolution, of course, and that happens among apes, but they kind of keep each other in a balance. So with human technology, this is no longer in a balance because of that, because of human technology. Because of that, there can be dictators that can take over things. And people don't take that very seriously, when the wrong people have social media websites in their hands, then that's a dictatorship, whether people realize that and whether people are conscious about this and informed about that or not. That's a dictatorship that is happening, and that's very serious. That's why Elon Musk bought Twitter, so that we have at least one honest and censorship-free social media website where everyone has the right to say something. Okay, people can disagree, but at least everyone has the right to say something. And when we have that, then Donald Trump can say something, Vladimir Putin can say something, and you get a completely new insight and picture into what's going on globally. Okay? Where they're not being censored, where they don't even have to try to word themselves carefully, where they can just say it the way it is, the way they feel it, the way they perceive it, and so on. Okay. And that can lead to world peace. That's how powerful this is. Okay, very, very important for me to remind people about this. So I want to, again, I always sway off, but all of these things are very, very, very important and tie in with that subject of criminal psychology. Because someone who acts out in a criminal way is just acting out of having driven themselves into a complete mental state of unconsciousness and anger, and it's a helpless state that they're in. Okay, it's a devastating state of mind that they have driven themselves in, and society added to it also. That doesn't excuse them. I want to make that very clear, because Paul always gets that wrong when I talk about this. He always says, "Now you talk like Governor Newsom." No, I do not talk like Governor Newsom. Absolutely not. I recognize there's one thing I agree with Newsom on. I agree that no living being should ever be incarcerated. I don't know how he feels about the animals with that, because he seems to be religious or something. But at least he acknowledges that nobody should be incarcerated, and I agree with him on this. This is torture to incarcerate anyone, and I add, it is torture to incarcerate any living being. a whale, a dog, a human, a horse. Don't incarcerate anyone. Don't confine anyone to a limited space. Whether that is a cage, a prison cell, a kennel, whatever, enclosure or room or whatever, where children are locked into a closet and those kind of things. This is torture to do that. To any living being, absolute torture. It's horror. Don't do it. Don't do this anymore. Let's make the world a better place. Okay, very, very important. And so people who are incarcerated, then their symptoms of mental illness just get worse. Okay, they don't get better. And the criminals that do that to others, they make the world worse. Okay, any criminal, any violent person who's violent or abusive to another living being makes the world worse. We want to make the world better. Okay, it's like what Esther Hicks said about the car navigation system. If the car is set to go from one point to another, from one town to another, and the person constantly steers against it manually and brings the car off track, then the navigation system will at any point in this coordinate system of the landscape say, now you have brought the car away from the path. I don't know if the computer will say that, but computer will say, from this point on here, you have to know, in order to keep getting back to that other point that you set out to get to, to that goal that you set out to get to. From this point, you have to make a U-turn, or you have to take that next traffic light, you have to turn right, and then you have to go down that street, and you have to get back to that freeway, whatever, the 299, and you have to turn east and on the 299. I'm just using this as an example. If you want to go from Eureka to Alturas, okay. So then you can't be swaying off and go somewhere else. But if you do, the navigation system will remind you at any point in time, wherever you are at, you can still get to Alturas. You just have to turn around here, and you have to take the next street. You have to get back on the freeway, and so on. Okay, and the same works, and she uses that as a metaphor also. And this is a great metaphor for our psychology, because we have to understand that wherever we are at in this coordinate system of the landscape, of the mental landscape, that at any point in time, no matter how much we have ridden or driven ourselves away from the main goal, some people act out horribly, and they have driven themselves into hell situations that are far away from their goal, or far away from a goal that they're probably not even aware of. Okay, so but that's that goal of paradise, of making the world better, of being happier. Okay, that many people are not even aware of. So, but they have driven themselves further and further into a hellish state, mental state, or into hellish situations with hellish people around them, and drug addiction and alcoholism and miserable living situation, and so on. Okay, again, they can ask their navigation system, their internal navigation system, where am I at on this coordinate system of the landscape, of the mental landscape, and what do I need to do in this given moment to make a U-turn, to take the right path, to take the right exit, okay, out of that road, come back from that dead-end street, and turn right or left, whichever path will get me back to the main path that leads to that goal of happiness and health. Okay, so very important to keep in mind that it doesn't matter where you're at on that coordinate system landscape place. Okay, it doesn't matter where you're at, you can always make the right decisions and get back towards happiness and health and healing. Okay, it's very, very important that people understand this. Very important. It doesn't matter, that brings me to this one guy. There was a guy, this very, very fascinating. There was a guy, and in order to make this understandable, was a concrete example. There was a guy, he was like 600 pounds, and he hated women because he couldn't get them, and he was frustrated sexually in every way. He was extremely unhealthy. He finally had some kind of heart attack or stroke. He ended up on the operation table somewhere in a hospital. And he had a near-death experience. And I don't know what they did, they revived him, they brought the heart back into rhythm. During this near-death experience, he had what he claims. Some people, they can have a life review and they can come back into consciousness and come into awareness about what they have done wrong to get to that point. And they ask themselves then, in that mental state, where I'm at in this coordinate system, I've driven myself far away from my goal or from the goal of health and happiness. What do I need to do now at this moment? Even as far away as I am, I could be at the North Pole, to use that metaphor. I could be at the end of the galaxy. Okay, what do I have to do to get back on track, to go back to that goal of health and happiness? And that's quite rare that someone with the same soul and the same consciousness will come to this awareness, but that happens. But in this case, this guy, he was interviewed by that blonde lady from Holland. I forgot her name now. She's really great, light worker girl. And she interviewed him, and he said that he left his original soul that was inhabiting that body, could not stand that, could not take that situation. That original soul left, but allowed another soul to come in, and they call those walk-ins. Like when a soul decides to take on a really, really sick person's existence and dire situation, to come in there and also in order to prove to other people, no matter where you're at, you can turn it around and come back to total health and happiness. And he did. He sure did. Okay, so not his original soul. That soul couldn't deal with that situation. That soul needed more time in other existences to heal. But all of these things are interactions of real life teachings for themselves and for others as well, and for the whole world. So this other soul that was more advanced came in. I don't know, what would I say he is? What is that soul? Maybe an indigo, okay. And that soul took on quite a bit, So that soul went into this really, really obese body on the operation table, almost dead. Not quite dead, but, that's why they say near-death experience, because obviously then, even if they have cardiac arrest and brain arrest, where there is a flat line in brain function and heart rate, then that's called the clinical death, but it's not death, obviously. Okay, the body is still alive, the cells are still alive. It's just that the vital signs stopped and the heart stops pumping blood through, and obviously that's very dangerous, because if they stay in that state of flatliner, then at some point the cells don't get the nourishment and the oxygen flowing through, and then the cells will die, and that's the actual death. Okay, so when there's so-called rigor mortis, when there is actual cell death happening. So, but I heard unbelievable stories of children where there was one child who already had, like, he wasn't he obviously he not all of his cells were dead, but a lot of his cells were dead. He was partly frozen in a frozen lake, but they revived him, and his mother helped with a lot of other people. They put their hands on him, they gave him life energy, and because of that life energy, that he was able to be completely revived, and his body was able to repair the cells and regenerate himself. That was an unbelievable medical curiosity, just the love of the people, this life energy touching him. You have no idea what physical touch can do for a living being. You have no idea. I mean, it is absolutely miraculous. People will say, oh, this is you have some kind of healing touch or something. As in Rupert Sheldrake's book, The Horse Boy, there was an English guy that he met they all praised him and said he's a real life horse whisperer, and he's a shamanic energy healer. He puts his hand on the horses and he has this special power. So Rupert asked him, what is it? And he said, it's called love, Rupert. And that's all it is. That's what some people find so miraculously amazing, But it's love. Okay, that's that amazing, truly amazing energy. Love. It's very simple. It's not complicated. It's love. When you have infinite love for a horse and you put your hands on that horse, you're helping that horse heal, or any living being, as a matter of fact. Okay. And that's the truth. We have someone in our family, and I'm sure I inherited a lot from that uncle of my mother, who was in the Second World War, deployed in the military, and he was arrested together with many other people by the Russians after the Second World War ended, and the Russians came into Germany, and they in order to fix things and help with things, but they wanted to also take over, of course, and they wanted to make sure that whoever is there still adhering to the Nazi regime gets incarcerated and so on. And they incarcerated a bunch of people, including my mother's uncle, and in that concentration camp he was putting his hand on people out of deep compassion, and they were healing their wounds because of that. So, and that was unconditional love, and that's why they were healing those wounds. That is the miracle. The miracle is unconditional, total, infinite love for another living being. Compassion, deep compassion, empathy. That's what love is. I feel you. I feel your suffering. I want to help. I want to be there. I sit with you. I put my hand on your head. And I give you that touch, of love and this reassurance. You can make it. Thank you, Blue God. Again, 4444. The infinite cosmos agrees, and that is the message from the infinite cosmos. Yeah. And so in the case of this really heavy guy that was like 600 pounds and he hated women, his soul left, another soul came in, an indigo soul came in, and that indigo soul took over that body, and right from that very point in the coordinate system on the landscape of the human existence, of sickness or wellness or whatever, on that landscape of experiences and that excursion. And no, baby dog, no. No, baby dog, no. No, don't. I hope it's still running. Okay, it's still running. Okay, on that landscape, that walk-in, this guy, that real heavy 600-pound guy, that walk-in soul knew exactly what to do from that very point in the coordinate system where he was at. 600 pounds with cardiac arrest on the operation table. That's like where most people give up. And the original person's soul did venture out. He said, I've had it. I'm done. So the other guy comes in, that's a walk-in, and he says, okay, I know exactly what to do, how to heal myself. I have to be patient. I have to be grateful. That's the most important thing. The most important thing in everything is gratitude. Like I talked before about that woman that was on Megyn Kelly's show who was in a wake coma, and while she was in a wake coma, she found things to be grateful for. Can you believe it? In a mentally locked place, like where she could not even move her body. So, and she found things to be grateful for, and that saved her life. That brought her body back into complete health from that coordinates place, of existence. And so I'm bringing these things up because I want to tell you it doesn't matter where you are at. All you have to do is you have to make a U-turn, you have to take the right turns. You have to get back on the path that leads you to total health and happiness. That's all it is. Tony Robbins knows about this, Esther Hicks knows about this. A lot of people are very, very, very clear on this. And those are also the people that helped me a whole lot in my life, to understand all of these things. So I want to share that with people in my own words, because I think that if I put that yet into my own words, you can also listen to those people, of course, and I highly recommend that to you. Listen to as many of these coaches as you can. Tony Robbins, Teal Swan, even Esther Hicks, who seems quite corporate at times, but the general message that she talks about, it's the general healing path, to mental wellness. She's absolutely right about that. So I don't agree with her on everything she says, but the general thing, the general message of self-empowerment, that's absolutely spot on. And so this guy, this walk-in guy, what he did was this is absolutely amazing. He talked about that in the interview. with Lilo is her name. Lilo, I think, yeah, I think Lilo is her name, from Holland. I forgot the last name now. Luli or Lilo, something like that. Lila, forgot now. Maybe I'll look for her again. So she's very sweet, and she interviews people that had an interesting life and interesting healing journey. And I think that's very, very important to interview those people, so that we learn that it wouldn't matter where you are at. There are stories that are so wild of people like that little boy that was healed, or horses with extreme leg injuries that healed very, very fast because of love energy from infinite love, from infinitely loving, unconditionally loving people touching them. We need to learn, we need to listen to that very, very intently. And the more we listen to those stories, the more it anchors itself into our minds that we can empower ourselves no matter where we are at. So I talk about my stuff in a moment. I just wanted to finish with that guy. He came out of that operation, and he asked them, instead of, medication and all of that, he asked them, he already knew, he asked them for the right food. He just wanted to eat raw, and he did some arm and leg exercises. He did right from the start, did the right turns to come back to health, and rigorously every day, when he came out of the hospital, he ate raw food, he grounded himself, he did exercises, he listened to positive messages, he did everything holistic that he could to get back to health. Then eventually he went into the gym, and then he brought himself back to exquisite health. Now he's good looking. He didn't even know how he actually looked when he was 600 pounds. So he didn't know how he could be looking. Okay, so now he's really good looking, very attractive man, and very muscular, very strong, and also the way he interacts with women, he wants them, he's very sexual. He flirts with them, but he's not invasive with them. He's not crude. He's respectful of them. When he talks with a woman, he lets her know that he likes her, in the case with Lilo. And Lilo is gorgeous. And he was looking at her and flirting with her. And he did not... it didn't. Some people thought that made her feel uncomfortable. I don't think so. I think that was very reassuring. That was very complimentary. So he has a very strong sexual energy that maybe some women find that a little bit too strong, that sexual energy. But I don't personally. As long as a man is respectful and loving and cares about me, my well-being, then I feel comfortable. So, and yeah, he's just he takes charge, of any situation without taking over someone else, without being dominating, but takes charge in a positive way. So he got his entire living situation into happiness and health, and being in charge of his life, and being free, having freedom, So you can get there You can turn this around. The girl that was in a wake coma, she did Dancing with the Stars. She's in the maximum physical health you can imagine, with total muscle power, ultra muscles, and like the baby dog here, baby dog is in ultra health, and totally free, young, free, healthy, total health. There's no pimple on her skin. I mean, she's healthy emotionally. She's loving. She's also an angel soul, of course. And that's much easier for them to do this. But what I'm saying is you don't have to necessarily be an advanced soul. You have to understand that you must love yourself, even if you're a stagnator and baby soul. Okay? You must love your body. Your body is your living ship. Okay? Your body is a living vessel that carries you, that carries that soul on the soul journey. And so just one more 10 minutes, I would say, before I turn the video off. It is very important, no matter where someone is, if there's a teenager with schizophrenia or criminal insanity and they have repressed, and I think that's all that is about schizophrenia. It's partly the genetic components for this type of reactiveness is genetic. It's just basically the modalities that are then being used because of their genetics in this difficult situation. But it doesn't have to be used if it's not in a difficult situation. Okay, like someone with multiple personalities, that would not unfold if they had not been tortured or brutally raped as a little child. Those are just coping modalities. Different people have different coping modalities. Okay, I didn't have any of these things that I could escape into. Okay, so I actively suffered very, very intensively, and I didn't lash it out on other people. I didn't do cluster B act outs. Okay, all of those are act outs of severe mental illness. All of that is mental illness. Okay, all of these different coping strategies that people will do consciously or subconsciously. But it doesn't matter where anyone is in this coordinate system, on that landscape of healing and different experiences, life experiences. You can always turn around no matter where you are, even if you are a teenager that is highly at risk or troubled or cluster B. You can turn it around. Okay? Become conscious. Become extremely conscious. That is my message to you. Don't give up. Don't resort to the things that make your life miserable, that make your body suffer or make you unhealthy or that make you addicted or that make you go to prison or that get you into different difficult situations. Whatever these situations are, So extreme cases of jealousy. So that's really something that I've been looking into. These violent act-outs can be avoided. These horrible scenarios can be avoided if people become conscious. I can't be an active therapist from here. Not at this time. I hope that I can be in the future. I want to, because that's my calling. That's what I'm here for, to help people. But for right now, I can only say this to you on the computer. You have that in your hands. You're not out of control. You can turn this around. even if you feel totally helpless and you feel like that anger act out is your only coping strategy, you can turn this around, and you can become consciously aware. I know how that feels when you're angry, because when we are feeling jealous and we, some people will say, bring me the cake or something, Other people with cluster B will say, bring me the knife and I will let it out on whoever they're jealous or on random people or whatever. We see it all the time happening. Okay, so I know how that feels. I know how this anger lashing out. I know how this is so misleading. This misleads people into thinking, oh, I can lash it out. I can, and then they feel this misleading, this fake relief. I say fake because it's not a real relief. It's not. It will nip you in the butt again. It will come back at you. Okay? It causes severe karmic accumulation. Okay? Don't do it. It's not the path. That's not making the world better. Together, every single person is responsible for making this world better, into a better place. Okay? That's why I talk about this. Don't fall for your ego. Don't fall for this, if I can just retaliate, or if I can lash back, or if, what, I don't even want to say it, Then they feel, then they're misled into thinking that this ego voice says, I will refresh you, I will bring you relief with this. But it's not relief. It's more unempowerment. It makes you hate yourself even more down the line. You know what you have done. You will repress it more. It will become more stuffed under the rug and into the spring. And it doesn't take long until people will do it again and again and again. That's why letting people out, just like without any help whatsoever, it's just gonna happen again. It's they don't know. They ride themselves more and more into this act out. Of course, they're not being helped at all. Okay, you have to stop right there in that coordinate place where you're at. Stop right there. No more letting it out on animals or people. Don't let your anger out on your girlfriend's dog. Okay, I see this all the time with the animal petitions. It's a horror of unbelievable proportions. Sometimes a woman does it even. To retaliate against a boyfriend. Or the men do it to retaliate against the girlfriend. This is a horror, okay? Don't do this. This causes innocent beings to suffer. This makes the world suffer. This makes everyone suffer. This will not make you feel better. This will not give you a paradise, okay? Because we're all in this here together. Okay? If you make others suffer, if you make the world suffer like this, you make everything suffer. Okay? If you hit someone, you are making the world suffer. Okay? You are reactive. Okay? Don't do it anymore. You must, and you can't just suppress your anger. You have to get into therapy. No matter how proud you are of yourself or how much shame you would feel if you went into therapy. You must get into therapy and you must talk about these things. Okay? Most therapists are pretty much in the dark and they don't know very much, but it's still better to go to anyone and talk to anyone about these than do nothing. Okay? And drugs are not making people better. Drugs are they're just suppressing stuff in the brain. Suppressing a fever, So a fever is there that's actually helping to balance out the body, to get rid of germs and so on. So don't suppress a fever. Do things holistically. Don't just suppress an anger. Okay, you can't. You have to talk about this stuff. No matter how much pride you have to talk about it. Whether you are male or female, you have to talk about these things to someone. Okay, very, very important information that I give. I know how quickly someone can get drawn into this, particularly if that coping strategy is genetic. But you have to become consciously aware that you cannot do these cluster B act-outs anymore, or any kind of act-outs, any kind of violence towards an animal, another person, or yourself. You cannot do it anymore. That's not the path to make things better. Okay? You have to talk about it. And if necessary, you have to punch your pillow, but do it alone in your room. Punch your pillow, scream into the pillow, but very important, say what you need to say. Say it. Alyssa and the Slenderman girls, say it to your pillow. Say it to your psychiatrist, how you really feel. Say, I am jealous. I'm burning with jealousy. Okay? Say it, it's good. It's good for you. It's good for you to do this. Okay. If some shithead says suppress the jealousy, blah blah blah, forget, show them the finger. Okay, say fuck off to them. Okay, you have jealousy, acknowledge it. There's nothing wrong with it. I know how jealousy feels. Jealousy is just we have been traumatized. Okay, from childhood on, we're carrying on our own mother's jealousy. And maybe even ancestors, who knows, okay? So let's tackle this problem right now. Let's talk about it to other people. Let's talk about it. Let's write about it. Write this down. Make paintings of it. Talk to a psychiatrist. Talk to a psychologist. Don't take the drugs. Don't take pharma drugs. Just talk to them. Tell them I'm drinking chamomile tea. That works better for me than Prozac. Take Pieris japonica, take rhododendron, take Camellia japonica. Those work better, okay? They will help you. Those are holistic modalities. Those are presents from the infinite cosmos that grow here on this planet. And many other plants that are very medicinal, okay? Don't take hallucinogenic drugs. They make it worse. They make everything worse. They just worsen that condition that's already there down the line. Okay? They only lift that for 10 minutes, and you have some insights, but when you come back out of it, the insights are pretty much gone, or you don't even know how to work with those insights, because you're back in that old mental state. You have to do the holistic route. You have to talk to someone. You have to take medicinal herbs that are not addictive, that are not causing your body to become dependent on it, that are not taking away your own body's function. The body, you need to keep your muscles going, in your brain too, okay? For everything, okay? For every modality in the brain, for every calibrating and balancing function, you must do that naturally in your brain, or your brain becomes dependent on it. Okay, if you take a drug that makes you have an insight, but without the drug you have no insights, you even go further back down into gullibility for religion and brainwashing and so on. That's not the path to do it. Okay, stay away from dangerous stuff. And go towards the healing modalities, holistic modalities that actually help you. Talk about it, Talk about it in public forums. Talk about this in chat rooms. It doesn't matter if they're haters, ignore them, block them. Talk about this to people. You have to talk. Make videos. If you're shy, write it down. Okay, but if you're shy, you can go into anonymously into chat rooms. You can get a fake name and some cartoon photo, and you can talk about it. I've seen people do it, and it helped them. Once in a while there is someone with compassion, but even if there's nobody there with compassion, or they're all in their own shit, okay, then just acknowledge that and don't listen to their advice or their shit or whatever. Just talk about it. You won't believe it. This will even help other people. Okay, this will help other people. Will open other people up. Maybe one person or another person, or maybe there are some people that will actually feel encouraged by you talking about it, to talk about their own stuff, and then you can give each other comfort. Okay, so you have to get yourself out of that miserable state that you have driven yourself into, knowingly or unknowingly. I'm not putting a blame to this. Okay, this is tragic. Okay, people do this out of childhood trauma. But you have to understand that you're not without power. You have to understand that wherever you are at, you can turn this around. Just look at the right advice. Look at the right people. Listen to your inner gut instinct. Listen to your inner navigation system. Everyone comes with that by nature. Everyone has that wire to the infinite cosmos. Okay, just send it out, that wire. Thank you, Blue God. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Now that's the total yes from the blue sky, from the Blue God. The total yes. What I just said. Okay, so I'm also not in a perfect situation here. Okay, I cry a lot. But the crying helps me, no matter how devastated I am. I think like this is the end. I cry and cry and cry and cry, feeling of this is the end. After I cried, I see it's not the end. I'm coming out the other end of the tunnel, okay? And this is how I move my way forward. Whether I'm here with Paul or anywhere on this planet, it wouldn't matter where I'm at. It's my mental journey, okay? So I have to do the mental journey work for that. And that is crying and talking about it, writing about it, communicating about it. Okay, and doing all the holistic modalities that are available to us. Okay, I'm doing it, and I'm living proof that it works. Okay, so I'm ending the video now. Peace and love for all living beings.